This is 1.4 in your MyMathLab homework. This lesson is an introduction to variable expressions and equations. Our objectives for today are first of all to use the order of operations. Second, to evaluate algebraic expressions. Third, determine if a number is a solution to an algebraic equation. And finally, to translate phrases and sentences into algebraic expressions and equations. So for our first objective, we're going to be using the order of operations. And first, to do that, we need to first know what the order of operations is. And the order of operations is just the order that you solve math problems. Now, your calculators already have the programming built into them to solve math problems in the correct order. So the first thing that has to be solved, the first thing that you'll always figure out first is any numbers that are in parentheses or any other grouping symbols. So you've seen the parentheses or maybe the brackets and even absolute value. Remember, absolute value are those vertical lines. So those have to be solved first. So parentheses is number one. The second thing that will need to be solved are any exponents. So that might look like something like this, maybe 5 to the second power. That would need to be solved next. The third thing that would need to be solved would be multiplication and division in order from left to right. So in this case, if division is first, then you would solve it and then any multiplication. Or if multiplication is first, you'd solve that and then any division. So this is important that it's in order from left to right. And the last thing in a math problem that gets solved is any addition and subtraction. And again, that's in order from left to right. So let's look at a couple of examples of order of operations problems. We're going to be doing problems like number 2 and number 5 from your homework. Okay, so number 2 in your homework is 6 over 7 squared. So following the order of operations, we would do anything in the parentheses first. And in this parentheses, we just have the one fraction, 6/7, and that can't be simplified. So we can move on to the next thing, which would be an exponent. So 6/7 squared means 6/7 times 6/7. An exponent is just repeated multiplication. So the exponent tells us how many times to multiply 6/7 by itself. So since our exponent is 2 in this case, we're going to multiply 6/7 times itself twice. 6/7 times 6/7 is equal to 36 over 49. Okay, number 5 is a much longer problem. We've got 2 plus the absolute value of 3 minus 1 plus 6 squared, and all of that is over 6 minus 3. Now the first thing that I want you to understand is that fractions need parentheses around the numerator and denominator. If you do not use parentheses in your calculator, the calculator will not do this problem correctly. So the first thing I'm going to do, and you should always do, is draw parentheses around the numerator of my fraction and draw parentheses around the denominator of my fraction. Now I'm ready to use the order of operations. Now remember, I'll do any parentheses first, then I'll do exponents, then any multiplication and division in order from left to right, and then finally I'll do my addition and subtraction. So in this problem I have 2 sets of parentheses. So we'll just do the parentheses that is in the numerator of this fraction first. In my parentheses, in this first parentheses, I have another grouping symbol, the absolute value. So I need to do that first. So inside of that absolute value, I'm going to do 3 minus 1. And 3 minus 1 is 2. So now I'm just bringing down everything else. I've done this part, you might underline that, and I got 2 as my answer, and then I'm bringing down all this other stuff because I haven't done it yet. And then I'll just go ahead and write my denominator out, 6 minus 3, still in parentheses. Now I'm ready to move on and work inside my parentheses again. Inside the parentheses in the top, I have an exponent, and exponents are second. So I'm going to be doing that next. So I'm going to do 2 plus 2, and 6 squared means 6 times 6, so that's 36. And then in the denominator, I've got 6 minus 3. So I've done my exponent here, and that's how I got 36. Now everything else inside my parentheses is addition and subtraction. I don't have any multiplication and division inside my parentheses. So I'm going to go ahead and keep working in this parentheses until I can get it down to one number. So 2 plus 2 is 4, and then I've still got 36 there, and then I've still got 6 minus 3 in the denominator. 4 plus 36 is 40, and 6 minus 3 is 3. Now 40 over 3 is an improper fraction, and I can just leave the answer like that because 40 divided by 3 leaves me a decimal answer. So your MyMathLab homework will take 40 over 3 as the answer. Now I do want you on these problems to write all these steps down, even though you could, at least from this point, from the second step on, you could type that in your calculator the way it's written. But I want you to write these steps down so that you can remember the order of operations. At this point, I want you to pause the video and do the order of operations problems in your homework on MyMathLab, numbers 1 through 5 and number 18. Let me know if you need help. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is evaluate algebraic expressions. And you first need to know what this word evaluate means. And evaluate is just a fancy word for find the answer. So if we're evaluating algebraic expressions, we're going to be finding a mathematical answer. The problems I'm going to be doing as examples are like number 7 and 8 in your homework. Number 7 says, evaluate the expression if x equals 20, y equals 5, and z equals 4. And they give us the expression x over z plus 4y. The first thing that you want to do when you're evaluating algebraic expressions is substitute the numbers in place of the variables. So in place of x, I'm going to put the number 20. In place of z, I'm going to put the number 4. And in place of y, I'm going to put the number 5. Now 4y means 4 times 5. So I'm going to use parentheses to indicate multiplication. Anytime you have a number right beside of a variable, a letter, a variable is just an unknown quantity. So 4y means 4 times whatever y is, and in this case y is 5. So now that I've substituted my numbers in place of my letters, my variables, it's time to solve this problem, and I'm going to solve it using the order of operations. So remember that we always want to do parentheses first, then any exponents that we might have, multiplication and division, and then addition and subtraction. So in this problem, there is a parentheses, but it just has one number inside of it, the number 5. So there's nothing to solve inside of that parentheses. So I would move on to exponents. This problem has no exponents. So the next thing I would do is multiplication and division in the order that it comes in. So I first have 20 over 4. Remember that fractions are division. So 20 divided by 4 is equal to 5. And then I have 4 times 5 left. Now I need to solve this problem, and the next thing that I would do is this multiplication, because that would be next in the order of operations. So 4 times 5 is 20. Now the only thing left in this problem is addition, so I'm going to do that last. So this expression is equal to 25. The next example problem I'll do is number 8. Number 8 says, neglecting air resistance, the expression 16t squared gives the distance in feet, an object will fall in t seconds. Complete the chart on the right. So first of all, we need to determine what numbers are we going to replace t with. Well, t are these numbers here. T could be 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 5 seconds, and 7 seconds. So we're going to be replacing in our expression 16t squared. Remember, the first step is to substitute. So we're going to be substituting each one of these numbers in place of t. So we'll have 4 math problems to solve. So I'll first substitute 2 in place of t. Now our order of operations tells us to do parentheses first. In the parentheses there's only one number, so there's no problem to solve inside that parentheses. So now I'll move to exponents. We do have an exponent in this problem, the exponent 2, so we need to do 2 to the second power before we multiply by 16. 2 to the second power is equal to 4. Now I can do 16 times 4. 16 times 4 is 64. So an object will fall 64 feet in 2 seconds. Now let's find out how far an object will fall after 3 seconds. So I'll use the same expression, 16t squared, and I'll substitute 3 in place of t, and follow the same steps that I did before. 3 to the second power is 9, because 3 times 3 is 9. And 16 times 9 is 144. So an object will fall 144 feet in 3 seconds. Now I'll continue to do this for 5 seconds and 7 seconds. So after 5 seconds, the object will fall 400 feet. And after 7 seconds, the object falls 784 feet. At this point, pause the video and do the evaluating algebraic expressions problems numbers 6 through 8 and numbers 17 and 19 in your MyMathLab homework. Let me know if you have questions. Okay, the next thing we want to do is determine if a number is a solution to an algebraic equation. And I'm going to be doing example number 9 like your homework. Number 9 on your homework says, is 1 the solution to the equation 2x plus 1 equals 3x? I'm going to start by writing out the equation. The next thing I'm going to do is substitute my solution 1 into the equation for the variable x. So I'm going to substitute 1 in place of both x's. So substituting 1 in place of both x's, I've got 2 times 1 plus 1, and that we're going to see if that equals 3 times 1. So now I'm going to solve using the order of operations. So in this problem, I should do my multiplication first. 2 times 1 is 2. and 3 times 1 is 3. And then now I need to do my addition. 2 plus 1 is 3. And since both sides are equal to each other, then 1 is the solution to this algebraic equation. Pause the video and do determine if a number is a solution problems, numbers 9 and 10. The last thing we want to do is translate phrases and sentences into algebraic expressions and equations. The first thing we want to do when we're translating phrases and sentences into algebraic expressions and equations is to first look for keywords to translate into math symbols. And I've given you a handout for this. Now, when you're translating words and phrases into algebraic equations or expressions, you'll need to know some of the common keywords for the math problem. So, like for addition, some of the common keywords might be plus, or sum, or altogether. Those are some common words that you might see that will indicate that you need to put addition. Subtraction, you might have the word difference or decrease. Those are some common keywords. And there's a whole list here. Multiplication, you can see those. Product is a common one. Division, quotient is a common one. Equals, they'll use the word is for that one. And then sometimes for parentheses, you might see words put together. And a lot of times it'll say like the quantity of, or twice the sum of. And you can see all of these have the word of in it. So that'll indicate that you need some parentheses. Then the second thing we'll do is we'll let a variable, a letter, represent the unknown number that we're trying to solve for. So let's look at a couple of examples here. I'm going to do number 12, that's like your homework, and also number 15, that's like your homework. So number 12 says, enter the following phrase as an algebraic expression. Let x represent the unknown number. So remember, the first thing I'm going to do is to look for some key words that will tell me whether to add, subtract, multiply, or divide in this problem. So I'm looking here and I see the word subtracted from. And I know that that means I need to minus. And the second thing I need to do is to let a variable represent the unknown number. And this time they tell me that the variable they want me to use is x. So right here, this number, I don't know what that number is, so that's going to be x. And then I've got a 3 here. Now, this word from is really important. I'm not going to do 3 minus x because I'm subtracting 3 from x. So in this case, it's going to be x minus 3 is my algebraic expression because I'm subtracting 3 from x. Then if I take a look at number 15, this one says 11 minus 3 times a number is 11. 11 minus 3 times a number is 11. So let's look for those keywords that are on our chart. So minus, it definitely means subtract. Then I've got another keyword right here, times, which means to multiply. And I'm going to use a dot for my multiplication. And then another keyword that's on our chart is. And that's where we're going to put our equal sign. So now I'm just going to put my numbers in. I've got 11 minus 3 times a number, and x is going to represent our unknown number, is 11. So this sentence translates to the equation 11 minus 3 times a number is 11. Now notice I didn't put a dot between 3 and x because it's understood that if we write 3 beside of x, that means multiplication. So at this point I want you to do your finish up your 1.4 homework, numbers 1 through 20. Just a reminder to write all your answers in your journal and show work on numbers 3 through 10 and numbers 17 through 19.